The manga starts, and our main protagonist was exclaiming at the top of his lungs that he wants to be a hero. As a little kid, he said all of this, never imagining that one day his dream was going to come to life, and it would be something he didn't expect. One day, he ended up seeing the face of an actual monster that he wanted to fight when he was a kid, but all his adrenaline wore off when he saw its terrifying figure. As the news broadcasted an urgent report of a case, Sho came rushing down, quickly grabbed a snack, and bid his parents farewell. As his worried mother reminded him to eat breakfast, he dashed outside, telling her that he can't be late for his part-time job. His mother bid him farewell, and as he smiled, he ran outside. But when he was running, he noticed something and immediately hid behind a wall. There, we learn that 6 months ago, Sho has been able to see ghosts and monsters of all types. At first, he was ready to fight them all using weapons, but later, he realized that only he could see them, and since he had no experience in fighting, he never really worked his way around it. The only way he found to manage with them was to ignore their existence and live as if they don't exist. So day to day, he ignored everything that he saw. That evening he was done with his work shift, and as he was about to head out, his boss ended up giving him some leftovers, and he didn't refuse. The boss asks if he is interested in working there full-time, and he shakes his boss off. There was still something that he was awaiting, and hence he was not really committing his 100% to anything. He reminds himself that he has a good job that pays well, he gets food that he enjoys, and plus he has a wonderful family, and in the first place, there's nothing that he should really do. He smiles and reflects that he is living a happy life. That night, he took his regular train back to his house, and it seemed like he missed the actual train and had to take the last one, which was packed with passengers. At one of the stations, a man with a horrifying face enters, and for a minute Sho panicked a bit, and then reminded himself that he can't just panic in public. He ignored it for some time, and out of curiosity, he decided to glance to his side, and when he did, he saw that that monster was pressing himself on a girl. Now there was no one taking any sort of action here, and Sho just couldn't hold back anymore, and as the station was called and the door opened, Sho grabbed onto the hand of that girl and dashed outside without saying anything to that pervert. Now that piece of trash didn't move, and as the girl calls out to him, he began to apologize for pulling her out, and she thanks him for helping her. As we see her full face, she thanks him, and Sho somewhat blushes from seeing her smile, but her thanks was interrupted by herself, and she glances at him for a minute, and in the next second, she begins to tear up. Now this was a public place, and he panicked, and he tried to calm her down, but she didn't stop and wept for something. In the next second, she ends up hugging him real tight, and it made 0 sense. He was flustered, and she asks if he is Sho. With a teary face, she lets him know that she is Hina, and as she says this to him, Sho on the other hand had no idea. He lets out a weak phrase, and later, she invited him to a restaurant. She made a troubled expression and couldn't believe that he forgot about her, and cried out how they spent so much time together, and despite that, he forgot everything. He apologizes and lets her know that it was a long time ago. As they chatted, he asks why she is here in the first place, and she averts her eyes and lets him know that she is here to find someone. Now he knew that she was not answering him truthfully, and he asks if anyone is bullying her. She lets him know that she is doing well, and as they interacted, it seems like Sho helped her a lot in earlier school days when she would get bullied pretty severely. As she lets out another smile, she complains about how Sho hasn't messaged her in a long time. He apologized again, and as a token of apology, he offers to treat her to something delicious. She asks why he isn't going to high school, and for a minute he freezes, and with a shaking voice he lets her know that he himself has no idea why he hasn't been going to high school. Sho changed the topic immediately, and with a concerned voice she asks him if he is really doing fine, and she lets him know that she would like to help him if he would like to. She insisted on staying there to help him. He changed the topic once again, fearing that she would surely start to consider him weird or even disgusting. And as he clenched his fist, he was about to share his deepest secret with her, and he was terrified. He lets her know that he can see things with his eyes that normal people can't. The next day, he starts to point to the monsters mixed in with normal people, and he kept going on, and poor Hina had no idea about the things he was talking about. Despite not really seeing anything, she let him know that if he was able to save her from the molester using this power, then she has all the reason to believe him. He smiles and thanks her for believing something so supernatural and abnormal. He also shares with her that he has been carrying something heavy with him all the time to make sure that these monsters don't just end up attacking his family one day. He thanks her again and couldn't believe that someone would actually believe a stupid ghost and monster seeing concept in the modern world. She replies and lets her know that he is not alone, and hearing this, he ruminates on these words over and over again. That day he returned to his place and greeted his parents. His mother asks if he was late for a reason, and he began to introduce Hina to her and asked if she remembered her as well. His mother thinks of something and with a cold voice she lets him know that she has no idea who that person is. He processes this, and his mother began to share that if he loves his family, then he needs to keep on doing the things he does and not get involved with other people. She tells him to never meet with that girl again and tells him to forget about the past. Hearing the word past, he started to wonder what is happening to him and why he doesn't remember a lot of things. From the back, his doorbell goes off. Hina was on the other side of the door, and she asked Sho to open the door for her. As he was about to see her, his mother tells him to ignore her, and it would be for his own good. He still denied seeing her despite his mother telling him to never open the door, and when he sees Hina from the inside, he couldn't believe that she brought 4 monsters with her and was waiting for him to open the door. She also had a rather cold atmosphere around her. Sho went into a panic mode and questioned if Hina really betrayed him, and in the first place, he never told her about his whereabouts. Cold sweat ran down his spine, and his mother from the back let him know that if he opens the door, he would not be able to protect his family. He was beyond reasoning and kept huffing for air at this point. He ended up with the dreadful and painful things of the past as he began to shake. He grabs an iron bat, and Hina just kept banging on the door. He opens it and rushes to strike her and her companions, and just as he approached her, she screamed at the top of her lungs and let him know that he must stop. The men around her began to stop Hina, and she shouts at him that all of these men are on his side. He glances to see that the men that she brought had police uniforms. He drops down, and Hina immediately hugs him. Sho was found by Hina and the police after going missing for 6 whole months. He on the other hand had a cold and dead look on his face, and Hina shares her side of the story. Sho was her first love, and she fell for him harder than ever. That day a bully was messing with her, and Sho stepped in to shake her off. He apologized to Hina, and she had already fallen for him. To Hina, he was like a sun who was charming and shining all the time. Sho had a bad habit of always hiding his personal life, and whenever someone asked about it, he would always flip the tables and change the topic. As they became inseparable, Sho lets Hina know that he is going to move away from school for good. Hearing this, she teared up, and he smiled back, letting her know that he would visit her from time to time. Just like this, he moved out, but weeks passed, and there was not a single message from him. She cried that her first love ended as soon as it started, and on the TV she notices that there was an important headline of a murder that took place earlier. 2 bodies were found of a 43-year-old woman and her ex-husband who was 55. The major thing that they shared was that Sho was their son, and he went missing as soon as their bodies were found. Now, hearing this, she finally learned why he was avoiding and not texting her. Everyone in the school and neighborhood began to gossip about this, and Hina herself began to search for him. She tried and failed again and again, and that day, when she was pressed by a creep, Sho stepped in to help her, and just recognizing him, she hugged him tight. She noticed that he changed slightly and didn't remember anything about the incident, and strangely, he began to see monsters which never existed in the first place. After their last meeting, she followed him to his place and immediately reported his activity and whereabouts to the police. As he fell unconscious, the police went inside to see his parents, and it turned out that Sho was living all alone for the past 6 months, and there was no one inside with him. His mother and father were all just things that he made up himself. The doctors inform Hina that Sho suffered from a very serious blow to his head, and this made him see hallucinations. As Hina asked about this, the doctor explains that it is all related to his family's passing. He adds that anyone that he found scary, like a tall middle-aged man or men in uniform, he considered them as threats. He tells her that Sho was trying to protect his made-up family from these monsters who were trying to draw him back to reality. As she learns this painful truth, she visits poor Sho one more time, and this time she greets him, and she apologizes for ruining his dream. He glances at her, and she immediately runs over to him and began to cry for hurting him more than anything. 6 months ago, Sho returned back to his home and found that his mother's ex-husband had sneaked inside their place and was abusing his mother. Only his deadbeat father was screaming, and it seemed like his mother was already dead, and he was pushing himself on her. He dashes to check up on his mother, and that piece of trash began to beat Sho. He fought his father with everything that he had, but he ended up getting hit by a thick glass bottle, and it then turned into a bloody fight which Sho won. He stabbed his own father to death. As he screamed, that day he lost his humanity and sanity, and lost 2 souls. Hina cries to him that if things become difficult to bear alone, it is okay to ask for help. As Sho hears this, tears overflowed, and finally, Sho was about to be healed by someone who would surely wash away the blood from his hands. Years passed, and someone calls out to Hina. She spins around, and a man was telling her to stop visiting that man over and over again. That man requests her to leave him to professionals and tells her that he hates to see her be so obsessed with someone like him. She smiles at that dude and lets him know that she doesn't care about anything else and would prefer spending more time with him. As that man left, Sho asked her how she was able to handle an aggressive person like him, and she sits near him and smiled after hearing Sho showering praises for her. She glances at him and lets Sho know that since she is the hero that Sho was looking for, she needs to be cool and amazing.